helicopter. Well, let's talk now to someone who knows how these investigations will be carried out. Gideon Ewers, he's editor of RotorHub International and the former director of the International Federation of Airline Pilots Association. Gideon, thanks for joining us here on BBC News. Now, this aircraft was just literally seconds from the runway here at Reagan National Airport when this collision happened. Talk to us a little bit about what happens at that point in a flight when pilots are coming into land and interacting with air traffic control.
Well, you're quite right. It was in a very, very late stage of the approach to Reagan's runway 33. In fact, if you extrapolate from what we see on film, probably less than 1,000 meters from the runway threshold itself. So very little left in the flight. At that point, it would be eyes outside, looking towards the runway, because it's a visual approach at that phase. So your eyes outside, you're looking at the visual approach slope indicators. At Reagan, of course, as well, you have an intersecting runway system. So there are takeoffs happening on a runway that crosses your path. So you'd also have in your peripheral vision thinking about what might be moving on that runway as well. But you're looking towards the touchdown zone, looking at the approach slope and making sure you're on path and speed for that approach. And your focus is going to be very much towards the runway environment.
And it's an incredibly busy airport here. Anyone who lives in this city, as I do, under the flight path, aircraft coming and going at almost all hours of the day at night. You add into that the military element with so many bases here, the security element with the president, members of Congress and so on. How does that all feed into how an airport here operates and how tightly those takeoffs and landings are?
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. Washington National Reagan is unusual because not only is it very busy, it's gotten busier and busier over the years as the number of cities that are allowed to serve it directly have increased, and that's another story again. But you have the added complication of just across the river, you have the Anacostia Bowling Joint Base, just the other side in the opposite direction, as you well know, the Pentagon, and then all the restricted airspace to the north of the Potomac, through the Capitol District towards the White House and the various other departments of state. So it's a very constrained parcel of airspace. Don't forget also that to the southwest, you have Dulles Airport, and to the north, Baltimore, Washington, and don't forget Andrews Airspace, also in the mix. So it's a very constrained piece of airspace. And unusually, because of that high military conurbation as well as political and financial, you have a much higher than usual volume of low altitude helicopter traffic following those defined routes. And in this case, what is known as Heli Route 4.
And all of that, of course, will feed into those various investigations that are underway. Gideon Ewers, thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Plenty more to come on this.